From the 43rd floor of a Chicago hotel, I gazed out as the first fracture tore through my existence. It wasn't a faint crack you could ignore. Its silent force thundered in the quiet. On a video call, she sat in our bedroom, her smile radiant, her voice tender as she spoke of longing for me. Her hair, slightly mussed, fell in that familiar, soothing way. For a brief moment, I almost believed her warmth. Then she rose to grab something, unaware that her phone tilted, exposing a glimpse of my nightstand. There, shining with bold defiance, was a man's Rolex, crimson face, silver band. Not mine. Never mine. It rested there, a mute indictment, a truth she hadn't intended to reveal. I didn't challenge her. My face remained calm, my tone affectionate as I told her I loved her. When the call ended, I sat alone in the shadowed hotel room, the Chicago skyline stretching endlessly before me, its glow unable to breach the certainty that everything had shifted. 7 years of marriage tethered us, high school lovers who braided our lives through college, our families knotted like the roots of an ancient oak. We had rituals, slow Sunday mornings with coffee on the veranda, meandering drives to nowhere, her double hand clasp in crowded spaces to whisper, "I'm by your side." I trusted her like the earth beneath my steps. That was my first error. She knew my travel schedule, the days I'd be absent, untied from home. I threw myself into my work. She shaped our sanctuary. That was our deal. But somehow, that sanctuary became a stage for another man's part. I replayed the missed hints, the new fragrance she wore, the extended showers, the abrupt hush when I entered a room. The signs were scattered, but I'd refused to connect them. Now, the truth was unmistakable. The next morning, I booked the earliest flight home, giving no notice. Staring at my reflection in the plane's tiny window, I was strangely composed. I wasn't returning to fight. I was returning to stop a performance in its tracks. Before boarding, I made 2 calls. First, to her parents, my tone cheerful as I shared I had a surprise for their daughter, asking them to come to our house that morning, saying it would mean the world. The second was to a locksmith, a man indebted to me from years of business dealings. I asked him to meet me at the house with new keys. If she had built a secret life within our walls, I would expose it with witnesses present. The taxi dropped me off as dawn broke. The house stood immaculate, unaltered, as if deceit could hide behind its drawn blinds. Her parents arrived half an hour later, their smiles broad, expecting a tender moment. They anticipated romance, perhaps roses. In a sense, I delivered, just not the kind they imagined. We stood at the door. My father-in-law rang the bell. Inside, footsteps resounded, a woman's laughter blended with a man's voice, not mine. The door opened. My wife stood motionless. Behind her, a stranger, tall, fit, wearing only boxers. On his wrist, the red-faced Rolex glinted. The silence that followed sliced like a knife. Her parents stared, their faces reflecting betrayal, as if seeing a stranger in their daughter's form. The man tried to slip away, but I stepped forward, my voice firm. "Don't move," I said, composed but resolute. Her lips trembled, words escaping her. I didn't shout or accuse. I turned to her parents instead. "This is the man your daughter invited into my bed while I was away," I said. "I wanted you to witness it yourselves." Their expressions collapsed. Shock, disgust, disbelief. Her mother's hand shook. Her father's jaw clenched like a trap. I stepped back, letting the silence inflict its own wounds. But this was merely the opening scene. For weeks, my instincts had whispered, and I'd acted discreetly. I'd transferred half our savings to a private account, quietly revised my will, and secured copies of our joint finances, passwords, and records. That morning, after the confrontation, I handed her parents an envelope. Inside were printed messages pulled from the cloud, photos, hotel receipts, undeniable proof. I told them I'd already begun divorce proceedings, protected my finances, and ensured she'd claim no more than the law permitted. Then I faced her. "You made this choice," I said. "Now you live with it." Tears streamed down her cheeks. She begged, called it a mistake, swore it meant nothing. But the Rolex on his wrist spoke louder. It was meaningful enough to bring him into my sanctuary, to my side of the bed. I told her parents they could stay or leave with her, but she was no longer welcome here. The locksmith changed the locks before noon. In the weeks that followed, she tried everything. Phone calls, emails, handwritten notes left on my car. I never replied. The divorce moved forward cleanly, no drawn-out battles. She received less than she expected, and I gained something priceless: clarity. Her parents hardly spoke to her, the public shame too raw. The man vanished, likely realizing she wasn't worth the wreckage. Sometimes, I still see her face in my mind, stunned, unmasked, as her web of lies unraveled before her parents. That image grounds me, a reminder that silence, precision, and patience cut deeper than rage. I don't hate her. Hate would suggest I still cared. What I feel is colder, quieter, like a locked door in an empty house. She thought she was playing a hidden game, but I made the final move. When I think of her now, alone, stripped of her deceptions, haunted by the moment her parents saw her betrayal, I don't revel. I breathe steadily, unshaken, knowing justice wasn't loud. It was measured, deliberate, and it was mine.